Yeah, I grew up with the community that emphasized very much about the contemplative practices. They appreciate it a lot. So I got I see a lot of examples. A lot of people who practice such thing all the time. People who meditate. That's quite common. I myself started doing meditation much later, probably in 20s, early 20s. And at the beginning, I didn't pay much attention. But later on, I found it more and more interesting, more and more helpful. And the busier it became to me, I found it more effective. Because when you have a lot more things to do, you become, there's a higher chance to be frustrated and so on, right? So you can see the benefits much clearer. And as I mentioned the other night, 2 nights before, the 3 moments things, that's how I started, 3 moments meditation or 3 moments technique. I found it very effective because it doesn't take much time. You just need few seconds. That's all you need. And it's very useful because you can use it anytime. That simplicity and easiness and portability of that practice is the key for me. I find it very useful. It's right there whenever you have frustrations or anger or fear. It's right there. So that's my experience. I studied in Tibetan community since I was 5 or 6. But I myself is a Sherpa, so there's a difference in language. So I have, nobody taught me Tibetan particularly, they just taught, they assumed that I know Tibetan, but I didn't. So there was a big problem, big pressure on me, I guess, because people think, for example, oh, he's not talking, he's maybe rude or something. But I wasn't rude. I didn't understand what people were saying, So study was not very easy for me. I'm studying a subject which is taught in a language that I don't understand, right? And I was 6 or 5, I think. But then later I understood what they're saying, so I learned the language. Then I finished my study. So as I learned the language, I appreciate, I had a tutor who's very compassionate, a great tutor. He encouraged me, and every time I do good, he will compliment, So I think my message is that complimenting the young kids, is very important. I think parents and teachers should learn that. And that's how I picked up my interest in learning. I didn't really have much interest at the beginning. It's boring. I just wanted to finish, But then after I got some compliments, genuine compliments, it became an encouragement to study more without telling me to study more. So I think it's a very skillful technique for the parents and children's, the teacher's part, I think. So that was very something, I think psychologically, a beginning point, a cause for me to continue my study even after I finish my studies in the traditional setup, right? Buddhist higher education school, and then in the Sanskrit university after that. So I was ready to study more. I wanted to learn more, and then I was, it's also one of my responsibility, and I was happy to do it. I was traveling around the world and giving talks on meditation and philosophy and so on, Buddhist epistemology and all these logics and all these things. And as one year travel in Europe, something came up to my mind all of a sudden. As people asked me questions, different questions on the subject that I taught, something clicked in my mind. All of a sudden, I think, I understand what they're asking and I can answer them, but I start to wonder why they ask that question. What they're thinking, what is their understanding of that language or that vocabulary? Are we actually thinking about the same thing when we use the same vocabulary? So that's the beginning of my study in the West. So I wanted to know more. We're using the same language, and I think I'm answering their questions, but maybe I want to make sure if I understand well, what's behind the question. I think it helped me in a way, first of all, to understand and appreciate more about the Buddhist philosophy and so on, Buddhist meditation and so on. I appreciate more about this after studying in the West. So it's kind of paradox, but that's what happened. And I think at the same time, it changed me quite a lot. Probably I'm thinking I'm more tuned to the Western thinking, I think. I don't really know how much I changed, but people tell me that you're changed and you're saying in a different way, explaining in a different way. I don't have one solid single answer for your question, but there are a lot of things that changed me, and where I understand things and where I answer the questions. Definitely, yeah. First, the most important thing that I'm thinking of is we need to understand. I think people have kind of assumptions, a lot of assumptions, when they think of meditation, for example, which is one of the most important part of the contemplative practices, the mindfulness practice, so on. I think many people somehow connect this with a religion, if it is a religion phenomena. But my understanding is not. Okay. It's basically keeping our mind and body in balance. Okay. First, mind and body in balance, and then the mind itself is also in a balance, and it's a good state. Of course, as a human being, you are religious or not, the healthy mind-body is very important. So the religious people practice it, definitely. It doesn't mean that just by the fact that they practice it doesn't mean that it is religious. Religious people practice it, and non-religious people also can practice it. So it's something some knowledge that is important for the healthy life, is a humanity that can be used by anyone and get benefit from it. When you mention the word contemplative, for me, the first thing that connects with is our mind, our thinking, like contemplating on something. So there is two things. Thinking is one thing, but thinking with the stability, with very attentive thinking. There's two kinds of thinking. Random thinking, busy random thinking, and a very focused, stable thinking. Actually, that's what the Tibetan word means. The word for the meditation is samten. Sam means thinking, ten means stable. So it just means stable thinking that is attentive. So if you're a teacher, you teach people, students, right? You want their attention, right? If you are a manager, you ask your subordinates to do something, you want to have their attention, right? So that is the meditation in a very simple way. You want their undivided mind, very attentive mind. So it's and especially it's difficult for children. They can be attentive, but very short time. So if children can meditate for, let's say, 10 seconds, I think that's same as like 20 minutes for us. I think we need to appreciate that. And sometimes when it's abstract for children, it's more difficult. You need something, to some objects so they can hold on it. So so we have to be more creative in this. I think now I know that there are more and more people who are in this, who experience themselves, who study on it, and more research are there. I think it will be probably become not like a foreign thing, but maybe more, and it may come to the mainstream over the time. That's what I'm thinking. I think it should be mainstream. If you ask me, it should be mainstream from the beginning, because it's about mind and body, right? But it's not, because sometimes simplest thing and most important things are somehow connected. When we try to learn something, we think a subject has to be very complicated, right? Very something that is it has to be very complicated, right? So you can learn and then so on. My example would be like this. If it is too close to you, you don't see it, right? We have no way to see our own eye, for example. Of course, you can say, I can look in the mirror, but what is in the mirror is not your eye. If you poke on it, you have no feeling, right? So that's not your eye, your eyes, right? So how do we see our own eye? So when it's very close, it's very difficult to see it. And most of the simple thing in our life, which is also very important, are, in a way, harder to see as a subject. I mean, as a subject of study, because we are experimenting our own body, our own mind, as a subject of study. Most of studies that I see, in a school system, in a university or college system, there's a subject and object. You experiment on something, on the table, on the computer, on this and that, and you are the here. So subject of study is out there, and I'm studying. So that's the concept and the world of study, I think. But all these meditation and the contemplative studies you don't find that kind of separation. The subject of your study and practice is your body and your mind. So there is that gap. So we have to educate ourselves and others that ourself is also probably the most important subject of our learning and study. I think people are more open, becoming more and more open, and also this country is great. It's a melting pot of all the knowledges, so it's open to learn and receiving a lot of things, and that gap to jump from the dualistic, subject-object based learning to non-dualistic learning is not very easy. But with all this now recent research and efforts that are made by many scholars, some scientists and practitioners, all this making the gap closer. And once that click, once it's bridged well, and it won't bridge by itself. Of course, we need a lot of efforts. We need to experience ourselves, and it needs. I think during these few days, I think we understand that not only the practitioners but also the scientists are saying that there is something is happening. When you look at the brain, and there's some connections. There's when you compare persons who meditate and person who doesn't meditate, right? And then when you train them with the meditation and then test again, so there is some clear evidence that it's doing something. It's changing our state of mind and bring more happiness. I think these are verifiable. I think that's what most people want. Verifiable proofs that these things are helping, and that's happening now. And people are more open, and there are more verifiable evidence. So these are the clear signs that it's working. And I think one of the reasons why there is a gap, as I told you already, between the dualistic learning and non-dualistic learning, let's say. But then, on the other side, people are also reluctant to talk about it, to bring to the mainstream education, right? And that's probably one reason in the past. On another side, they may be reluctant because there's not much verifiable physical evidence to show that it works. Everyone can experience. It's not just theoretical or logical. Actually, it's more experiential. One can experience it, but experience is your experience. You can only say about it, talk about it, but there's no third objects that prove that. There's no physical evidence. Now with all this research, it's helping people to understand that these things are helping. So it's good news. Yeah, I think that problem is diminishing. That reluctancy problem is diminishing over time, and people are more open. People are more curious. People are more educated in general. So they want to know what is good for themselves. So here in the community, in the world community, in the regional community, and in your own neighboring community, in all this community, people are now more connected. The world is almost like one. It's a one place, right? With all this modern technology, internet and web and all these things, people are more connected. The information is transferred much faster. Nobody can really block it. So people have more access to learn, and people are more connected to the different knowledges. So people are learning, right? So here in the university or school or any kind of learning center, you provide the education for people to teach or to learn to people, right? But then if all these communities are learning, it's growing more and more, then eventually you will see that something is missing here, right? So it's a matter of time, I think. It's a matter of time. So there's a two-way from the university or college, school community. There's two things that could happen. One is they can become more proactive, right? And then learn about it, research, and then provide this kind of learning and education, proactive. One is they wait, right? So everybody learn it. So they eventually find that something is missing there, right? So they have to provide. So now they have to chase after the demand, or they can be more proactive and provide the thing in the right time. So one of this will happen, but I don't know exact, but I would like to see that there's some proactive actions, and I see it in all these efforts that the University of Virginia Tech here has it. It's a very good sign, and I understand there are different various professors and in various universities that are interested, that wish to see that these things happen. Happier, have a very reliable happiness with them, and they can live with no or very little stress at a difficult time. But I think that liberation has many levels. We can be liberated from when you can let go things. You have something is very painful in your heart. For example, relationship, right? Personal relationship, work relation, whatever. If it stays in your mind, in your memory, and while you do something else, you think of that problem and that bothers you, that means you are not liberated from that memory, so you're suffering. But the moment you can think and understand that that's gone. We cannot change it, right? And not only that, I'm missing something here right now. Maybe I have some better friends next to me. But because I'm so much occupied to my friendship with someone else in the past, I'm not seeing here. Maybe someone next to you is very kind to you and want to have a good relationship, good friendship with you. But your mind is out there, so you don't sense it, you don't know it, and you're missing a lot. So once you understand that this is the real thing, this is what I can experience, and I can, that matters to my life. This is the real, and that is something I cannot change. It could be good, that's good. It's bad, too bad, but I cannot change it, it's gone. So once you are liberated from that kind of clinging and can let go the memory, then you're liberated from that suffering, right? So you have one liberation. Similarly, you can have lots of liberations from each. When you are liberated from each clinging, being so stubborn and so much attached to one thing, when you liberate from there, you have one liberation. And then you are happy. I think because of my own experience, as I said earlier, actually I'm writing, a book is coming out, and a main part of that is the 3 points, three moment practice. 3 moment, this is a special technique. That is but I'm saying this out anyway first. Just in case book, takes a long time, people can benefit from now, even now. And that is, things happen all the time, right? During the first moment, we don't realize what happened. Like if you turn your head to the wall and you see a lot of things, you don't know, but your eye already saw it, right? If somebody says something, the first moment, you don't know what it means, but your ear, sensor already hear it. And then immediately in the second moment, you understand what that means, right? You will connect to your memory, your earlier learning, your language, all these things. This goes very fast. And with that, it will invite, when you understand what that means, good or bad, you will have good or bad feeling. You understand that this means good to me, or he seems bad to me, then you have all these feelings, so you have maybe anger, frustrations, things will come up. So that's second moment. And then, immediately after that, you will react. You will not look at the emotions, but you will look out to the person or sound or other things, and then mind will become crazy, and it will invite many other thoughts and early experience and fear and so on. So we don't want fear, we don't want bad experience, we don't want to do bad things, that will look bad later on. We will regret after that later on, but by then it's too late. So right moment is that moment, the third moment. Right after the emotion comes up, you look into this emotion. Your focus is right here, not there. That way you will manage your emotions. So rather than, instead of reacting without control to others, now we're giving some time to ourselves, right? We are actually lengthening the time between our emotion and our response. So instead of reacting, automatically reacting, our wisdom and our senses will come in when you look into this feeling directly, the third moment. So then you can respond it. So this 3 moments practice, which is things happen, our emotion rise within us, and then that's the second moment, and third moment is to watch at it. I think it's very helpful to me because it's very easy. Easy means you don't need to prepare anything. It's with you all the time, and you don't need too much energy to do it, because most of the time, whatever you do, you need maybe 30 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that, even exercise, to get the effect. But this one, probably you need 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. That's all you need. So because of these brevity of the time length, right? It's easy, but the effect is great. So maybe you can try that.